quarantine with Forest Hills, who are a two-piece rock band from New York. Pleased to meet you. How are you?
We're doing well. Great.
Good.
So, which part of New York are you in?
We're in New York City right now, in Queens.
Okay. And you're from a place called Forest Hills. Am I correct?
Yes, I am. I'm from Forest Hills, Queens, New York City.
Do you know there's a place called Forest Hill in South London?
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, so whenever I saw your name, that's what I would think of. And I thought, I wonder if it's a place in America also called Forest Hills. So yeah, you've got the S on the end of it, which we don't have. So yes, lovely. It reminds me of Wayward Pines, but I'm sure it's much nicer than that. Now, Zero, you win the competition for having the coolest name in rock, Zero Zurico. And I've just been saying that to myself all morning. It's just the coolest name. How did you come up with the name Zero?
That's actually my actual name.
No.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous. Your actual name is Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's even cooler now. It's even cooler. I mean, it's wonderful. And Jack Burton isn't a bad name either. It's also very rock and roll. So tell us how and where the two of you met and how it all started.
Jack and I met in Los Angeles, California, actually. I was out there for college and also looking for musicians. And where were you at?
I went out there just to I was in Vegas for a couple of years after growing up in the Midwest, where it's pretty quiet and calm. Was in Vegas on the music scene, and then just wanted a bigger swimming pool, per se, to swim in with musicians. So I just went out to LA to find people to build something with.
Yeah. So we were both in Los Angeles, and I had been working in the music business as well. I had been a solo artist for a while. I was trying out with different bands, and I decided, none of this is working. I don't want to do music alone anymore. So I put out an ad, and Jack was one of the first people to respond.
And did you know from the beginning that you just wanted it to be the two of you, or did you think, oh, maybe we'll get a couple of other people involved as well?
When I initially put out the ad, I was kind of looking just for anyone, but I think once he and I met, we kind of knew we'd be a duo. We did audition some guitar.
We tried to include other people, even like former musicians that we knew from other projects that weren't doing anything. Like we tried to include people, but nobody wanted to work on something fresh. Everybody just wanted to see a finished product or to work on something they had already done before.
Right. They were like, show me the album and maybe I'll be interested. And we were like, well, at that point, we don't need you because we already made an album. So why would we be looking to add members, so.
Yeah, and actually, you're both multi-instrumentalists, aren't you? So you don't really need anyone else. Zero, you play, 10 instruments? Something like that? And Jack, I know you play drums and music, piano.
Yeah, I played piano before.
Quite a lot of instruments between you.
Yeah, in our band, I do everything except the drums in our band, and then he does his magic on drums, and I could never top that ever. So it works for us, and we have very good chemistry, and we have a great working relationship. So there really was never a need to add anyone into the band. I don't see anything that they'd really be able to contribute just from an objective standpoint.
Yeah. Now, Jack, you've been in punk bands as well, and you've also played classical piano.
Yeah.
So what kind of style of music sort of best describes your influences?
I'm classically trained in music. Music theory, tests, all that fun stuff. But then when I first played drums, my teacher instantly took me the complete opposite direction and taught me jazz.
Right.
And when I went to take my first lesson, he's like, okay, what do you want to learn? And I'm like, I just want to learn drums. He's like, well, what do you want to learn, a song, or like, who's your favorite drummer? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to learn how to play drums. So literally he just took me note for note and taught me how to read drum charts, and he just taught me music with drums. So all of my classical songwriting kind of just bled over into my drumming, and I just like to drum. I like to make music. So
yeah. And what's the rock scene like in New York? Is there a big scene, or is it underground, or?
I'd say it's a little bit of both. People hear like all kinds of music, and you have several rock radios here. So rock is definitely a popular genre to like, but there are so many people here in New York City that there's a giant underground scene just because it's a city of talent. Everyone's a musician. Everyone is something here.
Yeah, but apart from the music, Zero, you're actually a very proactive LGBTQ plus advocate. So do you want to tell us about the work you do with that?
Yeah, I mean, I myself am transgender. I'm also a paralegal. I went to law school and became a paralegal, so I like advocating for members of the LGBTQ community, people who are at risk or might need free legal services, because many LGBT youth don't really have the money to pay for, let's say, name change services or getting away from a bad home. And we always donate 50% of our merchandise profits to charity, and so often we'll look into different LGBT foundations to contribute to.
Yeah, I was reading about that. I mean, that's quite amazing. So a lot of bands are relying these days on merch sales to sort of fund them through what's a pretty hard time for musicians at the moment. Are you able to actually make any money out of it at all for yourself? I mean,
Yeah, we've
obviously
still,
that generosity is, wonderful.
yeah, yeah, we've still been selling merch. I'd say obviously since quarantine, it's tuned down a little bit, but we still very much stand by donating half the profits. And so that's still funding. Right now, we're doing it towards George Floyd's family, all of our merch sales.
Right, okay. And prior to that, I know you supported a lot of other charities. So how do you decide which ones you're going to support? Because I know there's Breast Cancer Foundation, Alzheimer's Research. So how do you sort of decide? I mean, there's so many worthy charities. How do you decide which ones you're going to donate to? Was it sort of different each time?
Um, Usually it's different every time. We usually depended on urgency. Like our last live concert that we did was when the Australian brushfires were happening. So we donated profits to that instead. So we usually go off urgency. Once coronavirus started, we shifted to that. Now it's George Floyd. But if there's no like imminent danger or event happening, we'll typically choose like we make all of our live shows epilepsy friendly. So the Epilepsy Foundation is a big one. Or, both of us are LGBTQ. So we'll choose that secondary. It kind of just goes down a list from there of what we feel is urgent thing to contribute to.
Especially ones that maybe aren't highlighted quite as much as other ones.
Yeah, and the epilepsy thing's interesting because a lot of concerts use strobe lighting. Well, not so much. Maybe the bigger concerts do. But is that one of the things then that you will consciously decide not to do?
Yeah,
Just in case
whenever
of
we play at a
epilepsy.
venue, we don't allow strobes when we
Yeah,
do live. We will allow lights, but we limit the amount of times that they change, and we make sure there's no like constant flashing or anything.
that sounds brilliant. I mean, yeah, I mean, do you face any, on a personal note, do you face any prejudice with what you do because of who you are? I'd like to think no, but
I
I don't
mean,
know if that's the case.
I don't know about you. I've definitely faced issues just due to being, first of all, transgender. I'm multiracial, but I'm white passing. That creates problems. I'm very young, and so people who are older tend to not respect me, or they think that I'm being pretentious because I'm more academically inclined. Like there are definitely lots of things about who I am as a person that I think people tend to disagree with or be unsure about. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm here to do what I love and I'm making music. And there's always going to be someone out there that doesn't like you just for no reason. So I try not to let it affect me. Like you.
I just don't think I notice it anymore. Like I grew up and I was homeschooled, so just from the very first time I was being social around people, I wasn't what they were used to being normal. So after all that, it's just it is what it is, and like not everybody's going to be the same. And if everybody was the same, that wouldn't be any fun. So if somebody wants to take it personal that I'm not just like them, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you do so much great work for charity, and you are so young, as you said. And obviously, we live in an age of Twitter and Facebook, which is something I didn't have to grow up with. And I can imagine there's a lot of pressure through that, and you get keyboard warriors and all kinds of haters on there, which must be hard to put up with. And I don't think I would have been able to deal with the pressures of social media myself 20 odd years ago when I don't want to say how old I am, but it must be difficult. And you seem so grounded and level headed. And like I don't know, you just have your mission, what you're doing, what you want to do, and you're not letting anybody get in the way of that. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. Marvelous. Yeah, and I hope that continues for you. Did you have any tours planned for this year?
We have been doing several live stream shows. We actually have one upcoming on June 6th that we're doing. But right now, any like physical concerts are off limits until at least the US is safe, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And who knows how long that's gonna last for. So, what do you write your songs about?
For me, music is very cathartic. I generally write songs based on past traumas, or if I'm going through something at that moment, it's usually just a release and something to just get my feelings out.
Yeah.
So
almost like writing a diary, I suppose, for some people, you know,
yeah,
or poetry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope you'll consider coming to the UK at some point. Have you ever toured over here before?
No, but we would love to come out there for sure.
Yeah, no, the rock scene out there is just, it's a cool scene. Like, I've gotten a chance to be in Ireland once for a rock concert in Dublin, and they did it in a whole bunch of different bars. It was a really cool vibe, and everybody, whether it was like a hip hop solo artist or a metal band, people were supportive of them. So.
And if you could tour with any band, who would it be?
Would you want her?
Sick Puppies, Lacey Stern.
Yeah, Lacey Stern she's my favorite vocalist. She's great.
Okay. Well, I hope to see you on the road. All the best for the rest of the lockdown, and keep doing the amazing work that you're doing for charity. That's all I can say. I think you're an inspiration to everyone. So keep going.
You.
Well done. Take care, guys. Lots of love.
Thank you for your time.
Bye.
This is rock and roll, burning out to my soul.